Hey everybody, welcome back to our Core 52 series. This is week 26 and we are talking about our commission. Now I think when me and Ben first read this chapter or first looked at this chapter, we were like, what is our commission? What does that really mean? But as we got into it, we realized that our commission is what we often refer to as the Great Commission. So Ben, can you explain to us a little bit what the Great Commission is?
Yeah, so what's really cool is this is one of the final times Jesus is talking with all the disciples. So usually the last things you have to say to people are what's super important. It's like, I'm going to leave you with my final words kind of thing. And he tells his disciples like, hey, go and make more disciples. He gives them this mission kind of thing of hey, we've had a great time together, but this isn't the end. We need to go tell more people. And I kind of like how we describe it for kids ministry, where it's Jesus gave us this gift when he died on the cross, and we should be super excited about this gift that we want to spread it to more people. And when we spread it to more people, that's how we start making more disciples.
Yeah, the book describes it as God's mission for the world is to make all people into disciples. And it's our co-mission because we're called to go and come alongside God and do that with him. So since we're called to make a disciple, I think it's important for us to kind of talk about what a disciple is and what that means. And so can you kind of explain what a disciple is? What do they do? What does that kind of mean?
Yeah, so I think in its simplest term, a disciple is just a student or a learner. But when you think about it, I think it's a little bit more than that. It's not just a classroom setting where you just sit and listen to a lecture for 5 hours a day like we would do for college.
Yeah.
It's a disciple is an active student. You have a mentor that walks alongside you. When we look at the Gospels, Jesus isn't just sitting there and just teaching them from all day. There might be moments of that, but he's eating with them and he's living life with them. So a disciple is an active student and an active learner who's being poured into by a mentor.
Yeah, that's so good. So when we're making disciples, one of the biggest pieces of that is to share the story of Jesus and to share why we believe that is true. Yeah. So Ben, have you ever had a bad or seen a bad example of somebody trying to share their faith and it didn't go so well?
Yeah. I think we see it a lot and we get it in trouble with it. I think if we were going to try to sum all of it together, I guess the main thing is just manipulation is kind of the best way to think about it, I think. So I know for church camps, you'd have the really cute girl, right? That's hey, if you want me to be your girlfriend, say you're gonna accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. And you'll see every guy at church camp going, I accept Jesus. And it's not even a relationship with Jesus at that point. Or I've been at school sometimes and it's almost an intimidation factor where it's hey, you're not gonna go to the right place if you're not following Jesus. And they just kind of beat you up, just trying to get you to go with them to church, which I also don't think is right. Those are my two biggest things, I think.
For sure. Well, I think there's a lot of ways we can get it wrong, but I think also that sometimes we think that getting it right has to be these perfect words and it has to be the perfect time. But I don't necessarily think that's true. I think we can share our faith, anytime, any way that the Lord allows us to. So what are some ways of good, positive things that we can do to share our faith?
I think you brought up a good point too, where it said in the book that we're ambassadors for God. And sometimes we're so wrapped up in having the perfect speech and the perfect way to bring people. But at my university, I'm also an ambassador. And when I'm an ambassador there, I don't have to have all the right answers all the time. I just show up of who I am, all of my greatness, all of my flaws, and I show them why they should go to my university. And when I don't have an answer, I call on someone. I think it said in the book that if you're an ambassador, the president will talk to you. So almost the perfect way is just relying on God, and God will tell you how to do it. And I think a part of the Great Commission, as you're saying, the right way to do it is when it says go, it's just as you're going. So just wherever we're at is just make the best of that moment to communicate why Jesus is awesome and why we should come together as Christians. So I don't think there is just one right way to spread the gospel. I think the one right way would just be to be filled with the Spirit wherever you're at. So whether you're at school or you're at your friend's house or you're like at a restaurant or a coffee house, it's just allowing God to speak through you and just accept where that goes.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think one of the most important pieces of all of that is like we are supposed to be sharing our faith as we go throughout our lives and as we walk. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're just on our own and we're out there to fend for ourselves. But like Ben was saying, like we rely on the Spirit and we rely on Jesus. And He is always there to help us walk through whatever it is, to help us share our faith, to help us live life like He has called us to live. And I think that's really cool. So do you have anything else to add on the Great Commission or what we should be doing to share our faith?
Yeah, when you were talking, it reminded me too, is like, because we're all called to go. And so I think we also have that thought process of like, I need to go to like India or something like that. Like I need to go somewhere like way beyond the scope of just like Texas or something like that. But I think like if we just live in the moment and say like, hey, like right now I'm a student and I can spread the gospel at my university, or like right now you're a kids pastor and you can spread the gospel to all the kids. And so it's remembering that like God sends us all to do different things and we all have these different gifts that we need to all utilize together to spread the Great Commission. That's why I think it's a community aspect, not just an individual thing. So just accept where you are. I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure in the Great Commission of that I need to reach 10 billion people. When in reality, if you reach that one person today by just smiling, I think that's the Great Commission. Because at the end of the day, God just wants us to spread His name, which some of that is just spreading love.
Yeah, that's so good. And the book, it reiterates that too. He says like, being a disciple is asking yourself, what can you do to get somebody else to take their next step with Jesus? And I think that is the heart and the reason and the drive behind the Great Commission. So, well, that's all we have for you today. I hope y'all have a great week.